back to the Rapport by LilyGrace podcast, episode number 146. I'm here to talk to you today about AI, and not necessarily me talking. Three very specific guests and people in my network that are using it to the absolute capacity, exploring and experimenting. I'm really excited to talk to them because they have three different perspectives. And all of you asked when I did a poll on what you wanted this podcast episode to be about. Everyone said AI and where it's going to take us in this future moment. So I thought, who better to ask than, first of all, Lucas Machado, who owns Modern Wellness Spa. He's been on the podcast before, and Curb Studio. He owns two amazing, really powerful small businesses in the community, and he is so entrepreneurial and tech savvy. It's amazing. So I'm excited to speak to him today from his business perspective. And then I'm also excited to talk to Monique Lecomte. She comes from the furniture world. That's where I met her. And she has a leadership background and has been helping global leaders really be the amazing executives and people in the industries that they are respected in to really take their employees and the next generations to the next level. So that's her perspective. And she's been integrating and talking about AI from that standpoint. And then third, I'm hearing from Dawn Gagey, and she comes from a marketing background and is really starting to integrate and create tooling with AI in not only her business, but other people's businesses, and educating the world on how this amazing tool is really shifting the cadence and the narrative that we are seeing in today's business world. So I'm really excited to hear these three people's perspectives. We're not only going to hear it from the macro, but the micro so that you can take some tips and tricks and maybe integrate them into your life. I'm constantly curious, asking questions, listening to things. My boyfriend's in AI, so I'm seriously always around it. But I have to say, experimenting is the biggest thing, and I am trying to do it more and more so that I can really figure out what works for me, what the next thing is, and how I can shift and adapt in this fast growing segment of the market. And I think it's the buzzword. Everyone's talking about it. Big corporations, small businesses, we're all a little scared. But I think when there is fear, the best thing you can do is lean into that and educate yourself and ask questions. So that's what I'm doing today. So I hope you learned something from this. All the information today is in the show notes below if you want to reach out, learn more, and embrace this with us. So I'm excited to get into the show. Our first guest that we have on today is a business owner of two different businesses, an entrepreneur, and one of my dearest friends, Lucas Machado. Thanks for coming on today. I'm so excited to get your perspectives on AI and how you've been using it and how it's affecting your life.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You were one of the first ones I thought of when I was thinking about people who are truly embracing AI and integrating it so rapidly and efficiently in their life. So I'm really excited to dive in to the questions. And the first one being, how has AI impacted your work and daily life so far?
Yes, so super exciting topic. Thank you for the question. I would say it started with every meeting that we have because I own a local landscape design build firm, and we work with homeowners and residential clients, and therefore we meet with them in person on site. So we're not doing Zoom meetings typically when we have those initial consultations, and so we didn't have access initially to the AI tools that people have been installing into their meetings to record notes and do things like that up until I think it's been almost 2 years, or maybe it's only been a year. Everything's gone by so fast with the progression of the technologies. But now we're essentially able to record our meetings just like you would with an old-fashioned recorder, but just using our phones and having that go into an AI tool that's able to automatically transcribe. We use a tool called Fireflies for that. So that right off the bat impacted our daily work and life because we weren't having to be taking notes the whole time, and we could actually focus on the conversation at hand. but at the same time, on the other end, having even more accurate notes and even better access to recall of those meetings has been a huge game changer for us right off the bat. But there's so many things that I do with AI on a daily basis. I have briefings throughout my workflow, both sort of on a personal level and a professional level. I get news in my inbox every morning catered to the topics that I'm interested in, which do include my two business industries, which, as you know, are very different. I mentioned the landscape design build firm, but the other business is a wellness center. So, two totally different businesses, but both local and brick and mortar in our communities. And so I get news on those topics. I also get I have an AI chief of staff installed in a way where I'm getting text messages about my upcoming meetings and what's on my to-do list and in my inbox. So I'm interacting with it all day long in text and email. And email is a huge part of it as well because I think for me, specifically in my role as a small business owner, my business lives in my email inbox,
Right.
right? Everything's there. And even when AI first became mainstream, from the very beginning, was thinking about how can this help improve my email? Because that's really
Hmm.
my customer service, my source of all truth and communication. So I was able to I work with a program called Shortwave that embeds the Claude model into my email inbox using all of all my emails as the source data, and that has been a huge impact on my life. I work with it to develop all of my emails. I work with it to recall information, and it's been life-changing for sure. And I think really just helped improve the quality of our communication.
Mm.
And I would say that's a theme with AI in general. It's not that it's necessarily making things easier, but it's
Hmm.
perhaps making them more efficient and higher quality,
Mm.
which I feel like it's really just sort of raised the bar in general.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
And does it feel at this point seamless? The way you speak about it makes it seem so easy, but I know, since I know you personally too, you've really spent a lot of time and energy on creating these agents and these workflows within your business. But at this point, does it feel somewhat seamless?
It does feel somewhat seamless, but it has definitely been a challenge to get to this point because it's it's so many new tools coming out all the time and
Right.
changing all the time. So there have certainly been instances where I felt really comfortable with a tool, and then all of a sudden I see that there's a new feature that sort of trumps the last one. And now I have to relearn and sort of reapply. But hopefully there's a trend where as they evolve, they become in some ways a little easier to work with, but also in some ways it opens up the door to new opportunities that are kind of exciting but also challenging. But it definitely feels seamless. In my recalling of like how long I've even been using these tools, actually I don't think it's been even a full year, and it feels like it's been
Yes.
multiple years.
Yeah, you've done a lot. I remember when we were just talking about ChatGPT and it was becoming mainstream, and then Claude, and then Gronk, and then all these programs. It's come such a long way. And I think early on we were talking about too, my boyfriend used Replit and was basically creating a website for him. But now he's like, oh, that's so old. And I was like, that was last summer. So the amount of time that it takes to create these new tools and how fast paced it is, it's crazy. But
I,
the other thing I want to point on is the quality of your life too. And like obviously you use it a lot for your businesses, but how has it affected the way you live and your lifestyle?
yeah, well, I will use that opportunity to also bring up another tool that I think has really affected my lifestyle. And it has to do with how I interact with the hardware that we use every day, which is our computers. Like our phones
Mm,
are our computers, right? We don't think of it as hardware, but it is their machines that we're working with. And typically we've typed on those machines on the keyboard.
yes.
And there's been a big shift for me there as well, where I'm now using the Whisper Flow
Hmm.
tool to voice dictate instead of typing. And that has had a huge impact on my lifestyle because it's allowed me to pour my thoughts out much faster and much
Mm,
more naturally and conversationally. It's sort of shifted my work to a more conversational based approach. And with that, I have seen sort of, I mean, my motivation to do work has improved because
yeah,
I don't feel as intimidated by getting bogged down in thinking and typing and sort of stuck on words and stuck
right.
on what to say because I don't have to say the right thing when I'm talking to
Mm,
these models because they help me work through those thoughts. So Whisper Flow, highly recommend that tool, but my it's that combined with all of the things, my life has just I feel like I'm able to be more on top of my work and give a better quality product to my clients primarily through the quality, the speed, and the um, in, and how informative my communication is. And I think too, before AI, questions that would come up from clients or from wherever that maybe I don't know the answer to right away would become, intimidating and sort of
right.
give me an easy way to procrastinate. Whereas now I don't feel as intimidated to work through challenging questions.
Mm. That's a really good point. And being in sales myself, a lot of times it used to take me a few people or a day or so to get an answer, but now I can really digest it quicker and like work through it faster to get a higher quality answer. So, like what you were saying earlier, that's so interesting. And you mentioned your wellness business as well. And overall, I think people are just nervous into what the industries look like for the future. But the way I see your industry being a landscape design and build firm, and then also in the biohacking wellness space, I don't see those things going anywhere because people are going to still want to swim in their pool and go outside and have s'mores, and then they still want to, focus on their wellness. Um, do you see a huge shift in the industries that you're in now that AI is present, or do you see a huge growth opportunity, or both?
I would probably a combination of both. Definitely growth opportunities. I mean, I think, especially with my landscape firm, it's a much more competitive um, space compared to the wellness. And therefore, we do feel a sense of urgency to apply the AI tools in order to get our proposals out ahead of our competitors and be able to, answer questions faster and sort of appeal more to the small pool of customers that we're all sort of vying for. So I
Right.
think, there's definitely it's more of a competitive thing in nature. But with wellness, I mean, there's so much opportunity, of course, like
Yeah.
in analyzing the data of our physical bodies and incorporating that into our wellness goals and routines. That's not necessarily something that we're doing at our center, but it is adjacent to the concept. And I mean, we've been able to incorporate AI in the wellness space, for example, just by applying it to the everyday business
Yeah.
operations like anyone, would. And we're really lucky to have an amazing team that has embraced the tools and essentially is deploying, a marketing and a social media team with just two of our staff members who are also, operating as regular staff members at the same
Right.
time. So I don't think that would have been possible before, and that's really critical for us as a startup in the space and as a self-funded local initiative. We would not have been able to afford, a full agency for that, and so that's been awesome. But it's yeah, no, lo lots of growth, and yeah, I think ultimately people are always going to be wanting to just connect with nature and
Hmm.
their bodies, regardless of technology. So.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing. And you even mentioned the other day your wellness and your journey there and how during the day we're all glued to our phones and computers, like you said, but then it's like you go outside and you're connecting with nature, you're going to the gym, you're putting good food in your body. And it's like so it's a dichotomy, but it's also like the lifestyle that you're living to aid in the fact that we're just glued to our screens and that the computer's kind of running our businesses. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
I
I
found that
mean,
interesting.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really overwhelming to be constantly bombarded with te
Yeah.
these new technologies. And we work, the more that our work is on the computer, it's like how much as human beings, how much of the day
Yeah.
can we really spend staring at pixels?
Uh,
And but at the same time, personally, I feel really motivated to improve my skills in the AI space and therefore spend a lot of time on the computer. So I think the best way to sort of balance that out is to create sort of a sanctuary in your work environment and make sure that you have equal access to being able to cook for yourself healthy meals and exercise and go for walks because um, that's the only way that for at least for me, being able to clear my head in between long sessions on the computer where I'm specifically thinking about, these code and
yeah.
all the things AI can do that's so kind of straining on the brain that, it's just to me, I sort of fantasize about this perfect balance and
Yeah.
I am striving towards it now, but I think it's just hopefully there's a way to get the best of both worlds through making sure we still stay grounded to the physical
Mm.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so important. You impress me so much. I feel like, especially for the businesses you're in, it's really cool to see how you're using this internally and also with your clients and customers to improve their experience with your businesses. And it's just like something that I don't see a lot of. I feel like in small businesses, you're spread so thin to do the actual work that people don't have the capacity to explore. But I hope that this inspires people listening who might be a little intimidated to take the time, maybe that be 10 minutes a day to really explore a new tool or a new workflow, because I can see how it's impacted your life.
Yeah, I would say like, we hear a lot how these tools they sell them to us as a means of us to focus more on the real work and not get bogged down by all the busy work. And I think
Mm,
that's definitely a sales line, but recently I've been feeling a lot like I'm actually sort of starting to live that truth
mm,
where yes, there's a fear that these tools can replace us and hurt the economy, but at the same time, I think right now it has, especially that I'm going into this new spring season with the landscape company where we're really busy,
mm.
it does feel different from last year.
Wow.
And it doesn't feel like it's not that it's easier, it's that I'm more focused on the frictionless part, which is
Yes.
sort of just talking, being creative
The
and moving
fun.
things along. And the
Yeah.
fun part, so I don't want to be cliche, which like I think that it sounds a lot of times when these programs are like, oh, like we want to get you
Yeah.
doing what matters, but I do think that, for anyone who is listening that it's possible to really
Mm,
be able to kind of get rid of some of the noise and the friction of the everyday work that you do with these tools.
that's amazing. And it's so hopeful too, because we hear all ends of the spectrum when it comes to AI. But I think this case study, in a sense, that you're doing in your businesses and in your life shows and is proof like you're starting to feel the differences, especially in the spring season for landscaping. And two, like when the iPhone came out. Apple was saying it's going to allow you to do the things you want to do more of. But because, in a sense, this is just a tool and like you can look stuff up, it connected all of us in the world. There was no action-oriented steps behind it. In a sense, we were the ones still completing the actions, but it's interesting because AI with this tooling, it's like it's doing the action for us. So I think actually we are maybe in a place that allows us the freedom to be in the real world, like you were saying. So
I
hopefully
hope
it
so.
goes in that direction. I so appreciate your time and expertise on this and just thoughts. Is there anything else that you want to bring up before we conclude?
Yeah, I mean, I would just I would say like it definitely is overwhelming. You know,
Yeah.
if you feel overwhelmed, that's not by coincidence. That's sort of by
Yep.
design. And we're in the kind of the wild west frontier stage of this technology, and we don't really know what's going to happen. And I think the one thing that's certain is that it's uncertain. So, and I used to complain so much before AI about how we just have way too many platforms. And
Yeah.
now it's like that's exploded like on another level
Yes.
with all these
I've
AI
noticed
tools.
that. Hmm.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this meeting, I looked at like all the different tools we use, and it's like dozens of of different programs as are part of my AI tool stack. But ironically, though, in some ways, AI also helps streamline like all the different platforms
Yes.
that we're using. But I think just yeah, devoting a little bit of time each week or however whatever works for you to improve your skills with AI,
Mm.
it's a compounding effect.
Yep.
So, a lot of it for me in my business is about automation. And if you can do, you could do the same task every day for 5 minutes, or you could spend an hour one day automating it so you never have to do it again.
Yep.
And that will compound greatly. I've seen that firsthand for myself over the last year, and I just do want to recommend that anyone interested will pursue a little bit more practice and skill education for themselves with these tools, and then have fun with it too.
Yeah. No, I so appreciate all of your perspective and your time. I Everything you say, I'm like so fascinated by, and I think anyone listening probably will be too. So thank you again for all these little tidbits, and hopefully that inspires people to carve out a little time in their day to learn.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you, Lily Grace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast episode. Without you, I would not be where I am today. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and follow the podcast. And if you haven't already checked out my vlog formatted videos, please do. There I show exclusive behind the scenes on my lifestyle, my routines, my travels, friends, business, relationships, etc. And it's the more laid back, low-key version of the life. Stay tuned for more, and thank you so much again. And let's get back into this amazing episode. Today, we have Monique Lecomte on to talk about AI, leadership, and the future, which is very exciting. Thank you, Monique, for coming on. You've been on my show before, so welcome back.
Thanks for having me. This is different than the times before.
Right? We're keeping it short and sweet, and I want to hear all things AI. So, how has it impacted your daily life?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been off on my own with my consultancy for a little over 2 years now. So I always, in the beginning, I think it was like AI was my best friend because I'm like I didn't have
Yes.
somebody right next to me to ask a question. So I started testing a lot of platforms. So I've been in and out of a lot of different tools, and now I'm trying to learn, I think, more scarcity and how I use it, and really making sure that whatever I'm putting in is what I really want to get out on the back end. So a lot more constraints than maybe when I was first using it because it was just so new, right?
Yes, no, for sure. It's all about experimentation. And for what you do, can you describe a little bit about your background and the perspective that you have?
Yeah, so I come from the built environment on the office furniture interior design side, but I was in the built environment for over 20 years, moved into more leadership. And so I'm doing more leadership consulting and really kind of at the crossroads of revenue and people. So chief growth officer, chief revenue officer, whatever title you want to call it these days, working with organizations in a fractional perspective to support growth.
I love it. And you also wrote a book, which was amazing, and you launched last year. Um, I feel like you always have so many speaking engagements, writing pieces, companies that you're working with. How has AI helped you streamline your workflow?
This is interesting. So actually have a talk that's coming up next month, which is actually the SIM Colorado. So it's Society of
Yes.
Information Management. So more of CIOs. And so I was looking at my book and the keynote and how I weave those things together. And I really look at AI as like it's this Renaissance era, right? Like we're in this next Renaissance. And for those that don't know what the Renaissance was, it was this period of, the printing press came along. And so we were able to have knowledge that was democratized, that was at our fingertips, where we could learn whatever we wanted to learn if we could afford to buy a book. And so Da Vinci came from that, right? Like Da Vinci was an
Mm,
artist and an anatomist, a astronomer, military weapons. And so I look at like we're living in a time of extreme abundance. And I think even through the last digital tech age, I think it's taught us that maybe we do need to create some constraints around that. So,
mm.
it's having too much, or as I've been following a lot of Stoics recently too. Seneca would say, to be everywhere is to be nowhere.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
So too much may not be a good thing. So yeah, practicing some constraint in this world of abundance.
Yeah, no, for sure. And especially as someone who feels like they're everywhere, it's a good reminder that it's really important to focus and kind of practice saying no and all these things that we try to do as entrepreneurs. And from a leadership perspective, how do you see companies weaving AI or not into their organizations to enhance systems or the opposite, maybe?
Yeah, I think that no one has it figured out yet, right? Like this is all pretty new, depending on when you actually like the light switch went on for AI, in my opinion. I think for those mundane tasks, I think, like I literally last week just, I call it like step two. I decided to use Claude for
Love
multiple
it.
reasons, but I just connected my G Suite and my Canva to it. So this is the first time I've actually connected my AI to something else. So for me, it's more of like, create this draft. Here's the constraint. I've kind of already written it, but create another draft. I'm going to go back and edit it again, but it's also then put a calendar reminder for when that email went out. So I don't have to manually go do that. Canva, like I've already got so much material that I've created from a slide deck and brand guidelines and my book and my voice for my
Mm,
newsletters. So all of that information's in there as well. It's good. It's not great. I find myself probably doing more work if I actually just
sure.
wrote the whole thing the first time. So I think it's going to get better and better, but I think it just really depends on what you're trying to solve. Like, what are those gaps that organizations are trying to close that a human can't do, or
Mm.
that a human can use their best and highest use in a different way.
Yeah. And are you seeing a lot of hesitancy with a lot of the leaders in all of these companies that you're working with, or are a lot of people embracing it?
I think people don't really know yet. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
that
early.
I think everybody's using it for the basic things. I think it depends on what your organization's policies are, if there are policies in place. I think it'll be interesting when I get to this keynote next month to see, like, that's my big questions, like, what does your policy look like?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these tools are built into everything that we use, right? Gemini, Copilot, you've
Mm,
Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, like you could just keep going down the list. They're integrated to a degree. Gmail, like, it's trying to write my
right.
emails for me. I'm like, please stop. Didn't mean to say that. So I don't know yet. I think that that's going to be the interesting piece. I think what we have, or what I see, is people, on their personal computers working on things that maybe that their organizations might not let them use, that they're
Mm,
testing with. So I think we're in that curious stage of,
yes,
what does this look like?
totally. And for the industry that you're in, what do you think that future looks like? Obviously, we're exploring, we're figuring it out right now, but we talk a lot about leadership skills and soft skills, but how, as humans, are we going to hold on to these things?
I think that we still, I just brought out my little pad of paper because I still take notes. I mean, our brains are interesting creatures, right? Like there are two things that we really are going to have to be able to do in the future, and that's critical thinking. I think being able to write things down, your retention is very different than if you're spitting something at a machine and getting something back because you didn't have that. Like I always say, like, and maybe it's because I have a design brain. Like if I write things down, like I completely remember this versus typing something. It's kind of like the same thing of like reading a book versus listening to a book. Those have very
Mm,
different retention in your brain and how your brain reacts to that. So I don't know. It's going to get interesting, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating time. And even throughout the generations, I don't even think it's one generation embracing it faster than the rest. I think it just depends on the person. Um, Gen Z, obviously more computer adept and millennials too, but it's just fascinating to me how some people are like, I'm not touching it, and others are totally embracing it. It's one or
I
the other.
know. I went to this event recently and someone's like, what do you use? This was like a year ago. And I'm
Yeah.
like, recipes. This was like the best invention for recipes because you don't get all hit with all the ads and everything. And you're like, oh, here are three really great recipes for this one thing
Yeah,
that I want to make
it's so true.
without the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there are so many benefits, but as of right now, it's the wild, wild west, as you were saying.
Mhm.
And it's interesting how we can make these improvements slowly, but I feel like it's almost like a sliding scale. Eventually, it's just gonna like take off, and then all of a sudden, our lives are gonna be completely unknown to
Or it's
us.
overwhelming. I mean, you're out and about. I mean, what do people say about AI? I mean, do they love it or is it just so overwhelming because like everybody's an AI company now and you don't know where to start?
It's overwhelming. I think from the design build industry, it's overwhelming, but I think it's benefiting a lot of people, whether it be for synthesizing data or creating renderings in a really fast pace that usually take like 3 weeks long. I think there's a lot of benefits to it, but then there's also fear because the young designers, especially out of school, are like, how am I supposed to have a job if the AI is doing it for me or replacing me, kind of.
Learn how to
Um,
draw by hand. That's what I say.
yeah, no, it's so true. Like the
Those
humanness
types of
does
skills.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
because
it's so
that's going to
true.
be the potential differentiation. You think
Mm,
about the built environment and nothing's changed. And I mean, I've been in it for over 50
yeah.
years, not 50 years, but I've been on this earth for more than 50 years and nothing's really changed that much except for the fact that we got
Mm-mm.
computers, Revit and BIM models came along. I think it's like whoever gets to the data piece and truly having their data organized enough to use some of these tools, because that's the thing, you've got all this information, but if it's not organized in a way that you could take it into a tool,
Mm.
does it really benefit you? But I think, yeah, the construction, design industry could use a little boost
Agreed.
in
A lot.
productivity because it takes so long to get things done.
It does, especially with these more traditional architecture firms. It takes way too long to get answers in the whole process. But I've been on calls with Gensler and like obviously at Miller Knoll, and these giant corporate companies are really trying to figure out how to utilize it in a way that is not um, just for internal use, but also to help our clients and beyond. So it's really interesting to see it just
Well,
unfold because,
yeah, the design firms are becoming more, depending on what the end user has, it's like there's a workplace strategy layer, there's the occupancy piece, there's, the research that needs to come into these
mhm,
spaces that are also more community based. I mean,
totally.
you look at design, it used to be in all these different verticals, and really it's about community.
Yeah, we are seeing so much of that, whether it be medical, higher education, hospitality, it's all starting to feel like very communal based. And just in general, how do you feel about your lifestyle right now? Like, do you feel like you have better balance because of the technology, or are you still overwhelmed and like ch trying to figure it out, or maybe both?
I don't trust it 100% yet. I think that I have I probably spend more time getting things done right now, just from double checking, making sure that the facts are the facts, because sometimes
Yeah.
the information is not 100% correct. I think that will get better and better as time goes on. And I think putting on my sales hat from my past sales background, I was looking at a statistic the other day. End users, B2B end users are already 61% through their decision-making process before they get to you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that day again, that date, where's that data coming from? Do you have blogs? Do you have research? Because those AI tools are going to be the new search engine to find the me and the you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's going to get interesting. But yeah, overall, I think I'm probably spending more time because I'm double checking and making sure. Even though I have so much information that is built into Claude now with my book and stuff, it still spits out a little more robotic. But
Yeah.
I do like the prompting and like, deeper thinking and asking questions back and forth, which has
Yeah,
been useful for
no,
me since
fascinating.
I'm by myself most of the time.
Yeah, no, but that's a good point, actually. A lot, the other people on this show are also solopreneurs. Well, Lucas has a team with him,
Mhm.
but a lot of times they're just traveling and on their own. And even today, I was speaking to my ChatGPT in the car, and it's just great to like synthesize with another thing if you don't have a human on the line, to just like think through your thoughts. It's fascinating.
It's great to organize. Like I have
Yeah,
so many thoughts. That's my problem. I have lots of thoughts.
same.
And so it's just getting them organized in a way that makes sense. And then it's like I say, okay, I'm gonna use Claude as like my Marie Kondo for my brain.
I
Like,
like that.
bye.
Totally, clean it up. That's amazing. Well, I really appreciate your time. And if people are interested in connecting with you, chatting more, asking questions, how can they connect with you and find your book too?
Yeah, so my name is Monique, Monique, last name Lecomte, Lecom as in Mary, T as in Tom E. I'm the only one out there except for a French real estate agent. So I should come to the top of your Google search. And you can find me on Instagram at Monique Lecomte underscore elevating others. And my book is called The Expert Generalist, An Unpaved Road to Leadership. There's a website for it, but it's on all the platforms,
Yes.
audio and print.
It's amazing. So go check out the book. If anything, I have a couple copies actually, and doing your book launch last year was so fun. There's content on my Instagram and YouTube about that too as well.
Wednesday, your timing's perfect. So April 1st, even
Yes.
though this is going to come out later, April 1st will be the 1 year anniversary. So
Amazing. Oh my gosh, time flies. Thank you
yeah.
again for your time and your expertise. I think people listening are going to get a lot out of this, especially if they are also on their own and trying to organize their thoughts and emotions around how to react to this thing that we call AI. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Dawn, back onto the show. I think it's your third time coming on, if not fourth or beyond. You're
I
like
think it's like
a
fifth.
regular. Yeah, it's hard to keep track. Thank you for coming on today. I am really excited to have you. I thought of you right away when I was thinking about the topic of AI,
Hmm.
and I am excited to hear your perspective since you have a creative background in photography, but specifically in marketing over the past many years. So I think your lens will be really interesting, and you break it down in such digestible ways for people to understand. So thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure. And I'm also happy to share that as of last week, I am a certified AI consultant through WSI Worldwide, which is a global organization. So I do have the actual credentialed chops to have a conversation about AI as well.
Yes, I'm so excited to hear what you have absorbed over the past few months and even over the past year since AI has really taken off. But
Mhm.
overall, how has it impacted your daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have an interesting real world case study outside of business, but highly applicable to business and how I personally have integrated it, but also where the conversations that I've recently had with prospects and clients alike of the struggle about where, when, and how to implement AI. So I often want to share and encourage people to start using it I'm going to put a relatively controlled way in your everyday existence, whether it's personal or professional. So, my example this week really did happen to me personally. I got a car in about 3 weeks ago now. Time is a blur, so let's just say 3 weeks ago. And it's a brand that I'm very familiar with. I'm happy to share. It's a BMW, and I am a tried and true loyal BMW owner.
Yes.
This is my third BMW, and I have purchased this particular line and it came with self park. So I, like many people, I'm a little older, so I've had a lot of experience behind the wheel and I do drive around 1,700 miles a month. And my daily commute when I lived in Boston was 100 miles a day for 3 years in the traffic of Boston, like from Princeton, Massachusetts to Wellesley, Massachusetts every day. So I am well versed in like the needs for a car to be able to perform, keep you safe, and be reliable. Hence BMW. So this particular BMW comes with a self-park feature. And when I first was test driving it, my wise sage salesperson, his name is Oleg. I love him. He's Russian and funny as all get out. Shared with me, it has this capability. Would you like to try? And I said, well, maybe you should try it first. We'll switch seats. And he said, no, you can do this. I'm going to empower you to try it. You're not going to break anything, and I'm totally liable if you do. So don't worry. We're like at the dealership. It's all good. I'm going to walk you through it. He talked me through exactly how it was going to work, kind of the demonstration of it from his seat, and then we actually did the thing, right? So he wasn't just saying push the button. And no one should be doing that in AI necessarily. Like, yes, you want to tinker and do the thing, but like it helps to have an understanding of like what it does, why it does it, and how to use it. So we successfully got the car parked at the dealership. And then yesterday, as I was leaving my house, just backing out of my garage, the interface said, press the button to do the thing. I took a deep breath. I'm still a little scared, as most people are when it comes to AI. There's like that little hesitation because this was going to mean like when you let the car self-park while you're in it, you let go of the wheel and you don't touch anything else, nothing with your feet. You're not touching accelerator, gas. The only thing to do to activate it is to press the brake and let go. But the desire to hold, like grab the wheel and do something to control it is so strong because of our programming. Like this is an embodied cognition when you're in a vehicle to have full control. And again, in the real world, in the business context, but also personal, but business, it's really hard for CEOs and founders to do that. Like we've been doing all the things for a very long time. That's our jam. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Not necessarily, but our belief in our embodied cognition is to always keep our hands on the wheel, sometimes to our detriment as a leader and an owner operator. So I let the car do its thing, and it was messy because at first I was like, oh, I'm going to push the brake. And I hit the brake because it says you can intervene at any time to regain control of the vehicle if you need to. Like you're still a human in the loop. You're still being mindful of like your surroundings, the sidewalls of the garage, what's behind me backing out, all the things. But the technology can successfully do it, and I needed to let it. So I started again. I said, press the button. I hit the thing. I'm like, took a deep breath. I'm like, it's fine. And it successfully got me out of the garage. I'm like, a little bit of applause from sneaky way. Like, I did it. Like, I trusted the thing and it worked. And like, you know what? My garage isn't really easy to pull in and back out of, to be honest with you. And having a car that can do it for me successfully on repeat is a relief. And it frees me up in my headspace because now I have confidence and I don't have to like get anxious every time I'm parking my car. So I got on the road and I thought to myself, this is a great analogy for how the consideration and the implementation of AI in the real world actually rolls out. People, whether you're an owner operator, a CEO, or anyone in an organization, large or small, like it can be scary to start to trust to do the thing. And there is so much you feel like you need to know. And how do I start? So take a small experience and a small experiment. Once you have the groundwork and a little understanding of how to engage with it and use it. So another real world example in the same experience was I'm thinking this would make a great LinkedIn post for my perfect person, my ideal audience, which is CEOs, owners and operators or founders who are really struggling right now with how to integrate and bring in AI. They know they need to do it. They're usually not tech savvy and they're scared. Like they might not outwardly say it, but in my one-to-one conversations, people are anxious and scared. Like, is this thing going to take over the world? Will it eliminate my staff? Like real questions and reasonable ones because there's so much that is still not understood or not known. So what I tend to do because I'm still driving 1,700 miles a month is I spend time literally talking to ChatGPT. There's a function in the ChatGPT interface that has like a voice icon. And if you click it, you have an avatar that comes on and you can talk to it. So while I'm driving, I do some of my best brainstorming during my commutes by talking with ChatGPT, which in best practices is a great way to use it because you can't do it wrong. You don't have to worry about grammar, punctuation. You're literally speaking your thoughts and using it as a thought partner in conversation to brainstorm or think through things, or honestly, just get all the things as an owner operator out of your head in the morning when you're driving to work that feels like it's taking up all that bandwidth and space and clutter in your mind, and you just get it out. And then once it's out, you can leave it there. You can activate it by putting it in a context like a document and handing it off to an executive assistant or somebody on your team to run with an idea. So as I was driving, I was saying, I had this experience with my car this morning, and I bet it's similar to the experience a lot of people who I want to speak with have as well when they think about using AI. And of course, my avatar person was like, "This is great. This is a real world situation and very much needed in conversation. I like to have these real, open, and honest conversations with people." So for the next 23 minutes, I went back and forth to build a LinkedIn article and a Substack article that talked about this analogy. So not only did I use the AI in a real situation in the car, the AI technology, but I was also using the technology on my phone in a way that I do in a routine to help me take those thoughts and draft something. Now, I was an active player in drafting this. It wasn't just, I'm going to say a thing, let AI run with it and spit it on the other side and post it. It's not that. It's, here's an idea. Okay, that's good. Let's refine this. Let's make it easier for a founder or a CEO to understand, like, this is a real conversation you're going to be having with a lot of people in your organization. What does AI readiness feel like to you? Are people using AI in your organization? And then if you want to play this out to its natural end, especially for your audience, Lily Grace, I have 25 years of marketing experience. So I'm also a fractional CMO, which is a chief marketing officer. And in my everyday and the conversations I have with my people, the real world application of this is I don't want to just tell general chat GPT or a Claude to build me a campaign for this client with no other context or information. So context
Right.
is really important, right? So for people out there wondering about exploring this and how it works in the marketing field, I take a fully informed prompt that has information about my client, about their ideal person or their ideal client profile on the technical side, but it's a perfect person to sell to in your business, that yours, your best client. And then what is needed and in what context? Am I running a campaign on LinkedIn? Am I creating a TikTok script? Am I running a full strategy, which is what I do for my clients? But it all has to be kind of presented to whatever platform I'm using for AI in a way that has a lot of context, it also has guardrails on it. It has to be secure. So there are settings in our AI platforms to make it so, like, I don't want you to share this with all of the people on Claude or out there in the world. And designating those controls, again, much like the car in the garage, like, I may want to intervene and put my hands on the wheel. There should be a human in that loop. I let it output the thing, and then we refine it, and I review it with my client, and then we revise it. And either of the platforms or any of the platforms are being informed at all times by a human in the loop. And again, in the car analogy, I can reach back onto the steering wheel or the brake or the accelerator anytime I need to. And I should be mindful of that. I'm not just going to let the car drive me all the way down the road.
Right.
I'm going to be involved, right? But I'm also going to let it free me up to do the things that I need to do and that I should be doing because I am still the expert in the room times. In the case of the car, I've been driving for, wow, long time. I'm going to be 50 next month. So since I was 16. And I have some subject matter expertise about the road that the car is not going to know. The car is the tool. I am the person guiding the tool and putting guardrails on the tool, but letting the technology do the work. And it's the same case with AI. So I hope that's helpful for your users.
Very. And the context that you brought up about the car scenario. I think everyone's been in that situation, and thinking about letting go of the wheel is so scary. And
Mhm.
just the idea of bringing that into the professional world or even into your relationship, or,
Yeah.
or if you're a more type A controlling person, it's really hard to like let go and trust other things or people. So that emotion and that anxiety is there, I think, for everyone, whether it be minute or huge. And when you're working with people as an consultant and as an AI expert, what are the tools and products that you're bringing to them to help them automate or really make efficiencies in their workflows?
Okay. So, as a strategic marketing consultant, I come in and I do an assessment, and this is also true in the AI consulting world. We start with like, where are you at right now, and let's identify a couple of things. So, in AI world, how are you using it, if at all, right now, or within your organization, how are people using it? The answer is typically everybody's kind of doing it on their own. Like they've been tinkering with Chat GPT. We
Hmm.
company-wide Chat GPT, or if we do it, it's only accessible to a couple of people who are the AI champions. So we really want to make sure there's a foundation of AI fluency as well within the organization. So once we understand like where are you at with this? Where do you have some frustrations or bottlenecks within your organization in general?
Mm.
Then, like, are there learning opportunities? Because we always want to start with education first. Like, where are you at? And then let's educate. And then we'll make some recommendations based on what we've discovered together.
Mm.
Not everybody needs the same thing. Some organizations are really, really foundational AI fluency and use at a basic. So we do offer AI Campus, which is three different types of training, and their durations vary and the level of intensity vary, but we start with that typically. Not everybody needs that. So if we identify, like, for example, I have an existing client where we need to do a pinpoint solution.
Mm.
They struggle and have a bottleneck when it comes to proposals with it, building proposals within the organization. And when I heard about this, I had my client walk me through the proposal process. Said, you know what? I have a team behind me on my bench that can really help us resolve and fix this and create an AI augmentation system, because
Yep.
this still needs to be in the loop on it. There's lots of stuff in their head that informs the end output. But gosh, we could probably shave off a good amount of your time as owner operator that you dedicate to this currently by giving you automation, I should say. So there was that part of it that we can go ahead and do as well. And then on the far end of the spectrum is we have organizations of around $10 million in revenue, 30 people, employees, who really need a comprehensive AI adoption roadmap put in
Mm.
place. That is a 6-month process. It is very intentional. It is highly structured and highly successful. And that is done at a global level with my partners through WSI. Same start though. Like we're going in
Mm.
and we're assessing like where are your people at? Where's your organization at? We want to make sure what we're doing with you is deploying the right thing at the right time. And not everybody starts there, because applying AI across an organization can be very intimidating and very scary, but
Right.
also very necessary. So if we identify that that's what's needed, we absolutely do it. We do it with a slew of global experts. These are people from like McKinsey and Google and all sorts of wonderful, strong, amazing resources. And everyone has a fantastic, what I'll call bedside manner. Like they've seen
Mm.
this, they've done it, they've been consultants, they know the real world use case for your specific organization, or they've had experience tangential to that. So that's on that side. On the marketing side, if somebody needs some that level of expertise as a leader, a marketing leader on a fractional basis, hence the fractional CMO, I
Mm.
come in, I do an assessment, we determine, oh, it's very common you don't have an actual marketing strategy. You've just been doing it on your own, and that's fine. I've worked with companies who've done it at the 10-year mark and the 30-year mark, and they've
Right.
never had marketing installed. I am wonderfully fluent in doing that. I can come in and build the system and the strategy. I am not the implementer. I have a bench for that. Sometimes Lily Grace is one of those people. and we create this. And that's where I use the Blueprint Pro AI engine that I have built that's
Hmm.
informed by everything I've infused of 25 years of experience in that marketing world. And we deploy it, build it, and activate it. So that's that side of the equation. And then I stay on your staff for a defined period of time as a fractional person. So you get all the benefits of a
Yep.
leader in your organization, but not having to pay any of the benefits.
That's a good way to put it.
Employees. So like it's like fractional jet ownership. You
Right.
don't have to worry
You're
about
right.
other things. And I'm only there for a fixed period of time. So you know the duration, you know that you're going to get certain outputs, and you know that you have somebody at the leadership helm in that seat, keeping the trains running on time and making sure everybody's fully accountable in addition to the strategy. So
Hmm.
those are the ways that I get deployed.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I think just having your experience from a marketing standpoint is so interesting to hear about how you've implemented it in your own business. And with
Mm.
Blueprint Pro, it's very impressive that you're able to build that out and just have a product that makes sense for any type of business to come to you and build out that strategy. And in the industry in general, as AI continues to evolve as it does every single second of the
Yeah.
day, how do you see the future of the marketing field specifically
Mm.
changing over the
Yeah.
next few years?
That is such a big question. And I think again, if we're talking about fear, like the word on the street in the marketing rooms that I've been showing up in, and I know that you've seen this too, Lily Grace, is like what is going to happen to our jobs? And how can we innovate and iterate so that we're still showing up and bringing value to our clients and the need is real.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to real quick the something I mentioned earlier. Anyone can use AI. But the real professionals are going to learn how to leverage it in a
Mm,
way that complements the human part, right? So
right.
the real good, strong users of AI are always going to have a human in the loop because AI can't think like a human. Not yet. And it's very possible and likely it will never think like a human. I mean, the goal that I understand is we want to try and get AI to that level, but it's pretty much impossible. There are just things like um, instinct
Right.
bake into AI. And, you know, let's go back to the car analogy to simplify this. The car, I wish it had this. Maybe somebody will come up with it after like the reason I had to get into a new car 5 months after I bought my last car was because in Birmingham, the roads are pretty bad. There's a
Yeah.
lot of potholes, and the only tires I could have on the previous car were low profile run flats. I had 3 flat tires and 3 alignments in 30 days. It cost me
Wow.
$3,000 because my car could not see or anticipate any of the potholes. I couldn't either. I mean, at 60, 75 miles an hour on the
Yeah.
highway, potholes exist. It's almost impossible to see them. And if you do, to avoid them, you can't just like put yourself in another lane of traffic as
Yeah.
a car there. I wish there was a pothole detector on my vehicle.
That'd be so smart. I need that too here in Boston.
Yeah. I mean, and it's up to us, right? Like I can only do so much and my limitations as a human to see it, but it would be great if there was that. If that doesn't exist. I think that in certain use cases of AI, there are things that it's just never going to be able to do or can't do yet, and it needs that human influence in it. It needs to say like that's great on the output, but in the real world, it doesn't happen that way. Only the human knows in the real world it happens that way. Like you and
Mm,
I have had experiences in business, like AI would never have saw this coming
no.
because we deal with people.
Yes.
This is
Emotions.
in like
Egos.
rogue decisions and somebody having a bad day or somebody having a great day, whatever it is. So I just want to share that for the future of marketers is to just don't panic, get educated and use your fabulous brain
Mhm.
to understand the context of the world we live in within our practices and find ways to innovate that require you to be that human in the loop.
I love it. That is a great way to end this segment. I feel like the way that you break down problem solution and like bring people into the storyline, you do so well. And that is why you are good at storytelling and marketing and what you do. So thank you so much for your time today. How can people connect with you online?
Sure. So, sometimes people say my website, but I really prefer to connect with people on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And I, of course, have a website, and Lily Grace will provide that. But
Yes.
LinkedIn is the best place to start. Or if you have a specific question and you're not on LinkedIn, you can certainly email me, and I'll have Lily Grace also put that in the show notes. I am the only Dawn Gagey that I know of on LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find. I have a signature style to my hair. My white hair will, cross your eye,
Beautiful.
find me in the image on my profile too if you need to. So, my company is called Tracer Strategic Marketing, and my official title is Fractional CMO and AI Strategy Consultant.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. I learned so much, and I look forward to hearing the feedback from this episode because I feel like obviously it's a hot topic right now, but people are just so intrigued to learn. So I appreciate your expertise.
Oh, my pleasure. And I always love chatting with you, Lily Grace. You're my favorite pal.
You too. Thank you.